I'm just going to continue from where I stopped last time. What I'm trying to do now is I decided to create another file here. So there's two different options. Actually, there's probably more than two different options, but the problem here that I'm thinking about, I still haven't tested to see if it's gonna work, but it's compiling since last time that I changed things. And the problem here is that based on the way that I did things, I'm gonna have to synchronize because I decided that it's better to do it based off the RAS path, which is the project path, because of the way that the export system works. So when you export, the main one that I'm focusing on is when you embed the package files on the executable. But it's basically very similar, I think. On both situations, either when you write to the executable or when you write to the package file, you're just translating the information, the text of the sync files or the resources, and you're writing them to a file. And then when the engine loads, it's going to search for these standard paths, and then it's going to parse in the same way you write. So it's like a symmetry. So the same pattern you have when you're writing for what position the header is going to be and how the paths are formatted on the executable is going to be what happens when the engine loads the project or tries to load the project. So because of this, I decided that it's better to, instead of passing the nodes, to decouple the parts where I'm getting the path of the resources from the part that works as the export system. So one approach that I was thinking about is transforming everything into a class and then making everything based on variables. And the problem here is like, how do you synchronize the paths that you create on the project and the paths that you export? Because based on the way that I'm doing things, they are separate. So it leaves chance for making mistakes because when the moment I build the scene or the project, I might forget to save some of the scene files. And then when I export the project, it's not going to give me a mistake right away on projects that have multiple scenes. But there would be a scene missing because there is this mismatch. So basically, I need to synchronize the parts of the logic that creates the scenes, that saves the scenes, and the part that synchronizes. And then I decided that the best way, so there's two different ways. One is to make it everything based on a class, then make sure that the logic on the class synchronizes both or puts a logic to check for if the project has saved the files or whatever. And the other one is to pass as an argument. And I decided that it's better to pass as an argument and to get the resources from the project. So traverse the project, get the resources, and you save the resources before. I don't remember. So I changed these functions as well. Like I separated. It's just to make it the arguments easier to figure out because it didn't like to the way that it was before, where it receives a pointer, a void pointer. It's more flexible that way, but I think it's much harder to understand for people that don't know. Like they're seeing the thing for the first time. I think it's much better to just like repeat the code a little bit and just make it more clear what is going on. That's what I'm trying to do here. Yeah, I didn't put the logic yet. So I think I asked ChatGPT, but I'm basically just gonna copy from ChatGPT. So instead of using the function that they are using here, which is using the editor file system, which is the class that they have to manage the files on the editor, they use that class in order to traverse the roots of the project and get all the files, and then they filter based on some stuff. But I'm gonna put a function here that traverses the RAS path using the dir access class or dir access and file access, and then I'm gonna filter based on the extensions that I want to export. Then before this, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's gonna be on this part because, like I said, I'm gonna pass as an argument because I think that makes more sense. and it's easier. So I'm gonna have to change this as well. So I'm gonna pass the paths of resources here, and I'm gonna call the function on some other file, which is the file that I'm creating. So I'm making this distinction now. Before I was gonna make everything on these scenes, but I think it makes more sense to have this, to have the scenes, and then I have another file, which is what I'm doing now. That's gonna create the projects, and all of them are gonna have the same formats. So that it's gonna be that way. It's gonna be easier to understand the difference. So this one, I'm going to the other one. I create the roots of the project. I was creating the roots, but now I'm just gonna make it as scenes, and then here I'm going to save the scenes. So this is the stuff that I was gonna do, is pass the function from Cortex to that place, which is the save scene here, and then I'm gonna get it from there. So I'm gonna put this logic on the projects. And then here I'm going to basically save all the projects. I'm gonna create the scenes for the project, and then I'm gonna save each one on the RAS paths. I think I'm gonna use the same pattern for all of them. So I'm gonna create another function here that's it's gonna iterate over the thing. So yeah, let me think about this. The only distinction you need is from the main scene. The other ones, I think they can have arbitrary names. So for the other ones, I'm just gonna make it based on a vector, I think. The index of the vector. So I loop over the vector, create all the scenes for the project, then put them on a vector. Then you call another function that loops over the vector and saves each one. The only distinction that I need is the main scene, because the main scene is the one that shows up first. So this is what I have to figure out now. Obviously, the easiest way would be to call the main scene separately, then create another function, because I don't have projects that have more than one scene. But I looked into the logic, and it's not very hard to understand. So like all the engine is gonna manually create the scene. So if you have a node that calls the change scene to a file, then the engine is gonna look for the path of the node, or the path of the scene, and then it's gonna instantiate that scene as it runs. So all you need is to have the scenes saved, and then the logic to change scene is gonna be part of the node. So let's see. I need strings. I think I remember by memory. Scar strings. This U string. Source saver. They are in this. So I think I'm just gonna move that logic here, and then I include the other one there. I include the Cortex project here, move everything to. Release our macros. Maybe. Is that I think I'm using the RAS access or whatever. I should probably remove all these includes and then just include the other one here. So like I move all the includes from the Cortex to this file, and I include the Cortex project on this one. That makes more sense, I think. I don't think I need this one as well. So I'm just gonna remove the window. I think I need because I think this project setting should be here because project setting is probably gonna be and maybe changes based on project, but then I can create a function here. The main thing that I was that I'm still not sure what is the best way to do it is whether or not you make this into a class. Because if you make it into a class, I think that's it makes more sense to make it a singleton, and then it gets a lot more annoying to initialize. But then there's the other option, which is to make just a part of that a class, and then initialize the class with the cortex. But then it's kind of annoying as well because you have to pass as an argument either way. So I think probably this way is better. Not really sure, obviously. I'm trying to just do it. Do things and then think about later. I think the pattern that I'm gonna use is main scene for the names, for the name of the main scene. So it has to be the path. Maybe I should. At this part, I'm not really sure like what is the best way to do it. Because it could be like part of the function. So maybe I create a function, I save main scene, and then I just remove one argument and hard code the path. I think that's probably better. Then I use this one to save the other ones. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. So let me focus on the other stuff first. Actually, it's probably better. So I have to create a vector for the paths. Then after I save each one, I'm obviously gonna push. So this is another thing though, because if I make it, if I make a function, maybe the function returns the path. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way. Instead of pushing like this, I create the main scene function is going to return the path of the instead of returning the error, it's going to return the path of the main scene. But if I know what's going to be, it'll make more sense. Sure. This is what I mean that it's kind of hard to decide which one is best. I think like the class makes it easier to make logic that depends on the state, obviously, because if you make things based on the member variable of the class, then it's easier to make checks to see whether or not you. Because the biggest thing that I'm thinking about is like how hard it's gonna be or how easy it's gonna be to make mistakes on things that can fail at runtime, because those are the things that are the most annoying. So, like if I make there's two things. One is like how to make sure that I'm always gonna have. I think the main thing is kind of easier because I can transfer. The way that the engine knows what the main scene is based on the settings. So I can put the logic to create the main scene inside of the settings, which now I think I'm doing on this thing here. Yeah, but I kind of do. This is another problem because when I'm not exporting, when I'm just creating the development scene, but I guess I can separate actually. So I can go on main, and then I can separate the logic to create the development scene and the project. Yeah, because it's gonna be two different parts. So initially I was using this create project here, but now because I decided to change, I'm gonna change this. So instead of calling create project here, which creates the roots of the project, I'm going to call another function that's gonna return the vector of paths based on the project name. So I can continue to do this thing here for this. Let me think about this. Like they are these two different parts of the system are coupled through this project because there's the situation where I want to build a project to develop the project, and then there's a situation that I want to build to export. And I obviously makes sense to try to reuse the functions. Yeah, so I think actually it should be based on the project name instead of. But if it is on the project name, then obviously you should receive an argument, I think. So the question is how to synchronize this function here. Actually, maybe I should call the same function. And then I just create a project and return the paths. Yeah, but then if I return the paths, I can't. Because I'm using this one on the main to put this on the sync tree to render some situation. Hmm. I'll be right back. So I thought about a way, which is gonna be on this function to create the. It should probably be a string name, the main scene path, and then I basically just do what I was doing here, and then I pass this as an argument to the other ones. So the formats of the functions that create the project are always gonna be like this. They are gonna receive. It's better to copy this first. Yeah, they build everything because I don't need to. I just need to save the scene because the thing that manages everything is gonna be the project settings, I think. So yeah, and put a string name here, and then I don't need to change the thing. I think main scene path. So how can I? Yeah, I'm gonna ask this to ChatGPT as well. So what I can do is to check to see. I can try to get the. Yeah, this. So I set with this pattern, then I run the thing, then I try to get here. Thing's gonna be just get. Uh, and then I do this. And if they are different, then obviously I return null pointer, throw an error, and return null pointer. But the problem is that this is not gonna check. This is the issue. As obviously I'm setting here, so it's pointless. It would make sense if I set the project settings on there. But I think I can pass this on the other one. That makes more sense. So I pass this function call to here instead of here. But then I have to create another function to differentiate them. Or I can put a boolean here. Then based on the boolean, I set the thing. I think that's probably better. So this function receives this, saves here. This by false by default. That way I can check. So because I'm setting here, obviously it doesn't guarantee that I'm gonna have all these things. The problem, like the other thing that the other route that I can go with is to change the scene tree so that I make sure like create a variable inside of this class that changes the state of the class based on whether or not. Yeah, but that wouldn't make sense. Like if I figure out a way to differentiate nodes that are string roots from nodes that are part of a string, then obviously, but even then, this is the part that I'm talking about that is different because it's not like it's one tree, the whole thing. Just like each thing is gonna be its own tree, so you can't navigate from the root node of the project of the main thing to figure out all the other things from the project. That's the problem. So like the biggest concern that I have here is like if you forget to save, if you create a project and forget to save some things, then it's gonna work fine. If because I'm gonna make sure that I have the main thing always. But then maybe when I export, it's going to fail because I forgot to save something. But I think that is not gonna be that big of a deal because if I create the other function here, like the other function is gonna loop over, then I make sure that it always calls. But this is the reason why it would be easier to have a class for this, I think. Because then I can make a variable. Obviously, I can make a static variable here. Maybe this is the best way. So make a static variable. And then, but either way, like I'm gonna have to remember to save all the scenes, so it wouldn't make sense. I guess I could put the variable on the save all scenes function. Oh, it has to be RAS here as well. So since I'm including this one there, I can remove context scenes. Yeah. This one I can also remove from here. Yeah, I'm just gonna comment everything else because I'm not using this function anymore. So let me think about this. Hmm. Yeah, I have to create another function because of this. So like this one I'm using on the main, I think. So I have to return the root node of the project so I can push to the main tree. But this one is going to require the paths, so it's not the same thing. Yeah. So like, one option is to create another function on the Cortex projects that is going to save all these things and then, but then how that would work. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Obviously, you can create another struct as well, then put like the paths and the root, then use that instead on this one. Then I change the main there, change here. It's probably better to just separate the two of them. Yeah, but the thing, like, I'm gonna use the same function, so I'm kind of forced to change. I guess I can instantiate. Yeah, maybe that's better than doing this. Yeah, that's a good idea. It's kind of slower, but I think it doesn't like. It's only gonna be slower for development because it's separate, the two compiled versions, so it doesn't affect anything. But the main engine version with all the development tools is meant to only run on the exported application, so it's just gonna be slightly annoying. But I don't think it's gonna be that bad either to do this. So what I'm thinking about is like, because I'm trying to figure out the standard. I'm probably gonna follow the same pattern on all of them. So I think that I should leave it like this here for creating the roots of the project. But then here I instantiate the project root using the package sing. So I use resource loader to try to load the sing, create the roots. And this will allow me to get the error message as well. So I just instantiate the same way that they do it here. Yeah, so to create the sync from the path, you get the path, then use resource loader load. This is going to parse the text file and it's going to create this package sync, which is the class that they create to hold the state of the sync. Then you call instantiated here, and that's going to be the root of the sync. So I can do the same thing. I wonder if I can call the thing directly. I think it's probably better to instantiate the way that they are doing that. So let me think about this. Actually, I don't need this because it's just gonna be based on the project name. So I already have the path here. I only need this path to instantiate. So just change here. Should just call the function. Then here, I so maybe I should. Yeah, but if I put there, it doesn't make sense. So one option is to put the code here. The other option is to put here because of the separation that I'm making there. But I think if I put here, it kind of doesn't make sense because then it would make more sense to put on the same function. So it probably makes more sense to just put on the main one there. So just copy the code here. Just throw the same error messages. So put main path here. And obviously I don't need the rest of this stuff. So just put this here. Interesting. I'll remove this. Need this. Yeah. Yeah, so I think this pattern is good. So based on the project name, call the main project function. This function creates the scenes, then save the scenes. Yeah, so what I have to do here is, I forgot to, so I have to delete the function from here. Yeah, so the way that it's gonna work is that the cortex, so first I develop the development scene, then once that scene is done, I move that to this file. This file has all the functions for the scenes, then I create the projects by composing the scenes. So here I'm just gonna have the functions that call the scenes, build the nodes, then I save whatever node I want to be the main scene. And I think at some point I should probably change the logic as well to, or maybe changing, yeah, changing I think doesn't make sense, but adding another function makes sense. So I just copy from the functions that I already have on the scene tree to change to a different scene. And then I can do whatever I want to compose the scenes in different ways. That would be a good idea. So what I'm gonna do here is create another function that is gonna loop over the, I'm gonna pass a vector of nodes, I think. And the other ones I just do it based on a pattern. I do it based on the index. Because it doesn't matter. So the one thing that I have to see is because I'm doing this thing differently, like I don't want to rely on the project structure. The way that the editor works is that they create the project structure, then they create cache files on the project structure to save everything. And I'm doing it differently. So I don't want to. So the problem is whether or not the RAS path is going to work, which I think it is, but I have to see, obviously. So I'm going to test now to see if this works. But if it doesn't work, I'm going to have to figure out a way to set this RAS path. So I'm probably going to create another folder on the Cortex and then use that, or use the editor sandbox folder to save these temporary files. Because the files don't matter anyway as well. They just matter for exporting. And I think that is not that big of a deal to use the same function. So obviously I can separate between two different functions. And then just leave this one to create the nodes and return the root nodes. But I think that this is not that big of a deal to like save the scene, then load the scene and then use this as the root. Then I can use the same function. Yeah, I think that probably I should do this later as well. I don't need to say that I can call this function here. That makes more sense. So like this, I'm using on this other mode to save. So it passes the path and the project name, I think. Or the path of the main scene. And so I'm gonna call this one from the other one, and I'm gonna remove the project settings from the save sync function. That makes more sense. So if everything works here, I call this, and then I pass the main scene path here. And the project name here. I think it is the project name. A project name. And these will be the settings that I use by default. Then I will remove this from here. Just remove from there. I think this makes more sense. Yeah, because then it depends on the path. So I don't need to differentiate here. Whatever roots node I pass to this function with the main sync path is gonna be the main one. So now I'm gonna create this other function. Use bow Caesar. Actually, has should be the index one. I think that's. Hmm. Oh, just realized that this doesn't solve the issue there. So here I do it differently. Yeah, I can do the same thing that I do here. So it's probably better to decouple. I just realized this. I think doing this way is still better because then you make sure that the projects are always gonna save the things, save at least the main thing. But then obviously the issue is that I can use this function on the other one here because this other one's gonna depend. Like I need to get the paths. Obviously this is not gonna be only sync paths as well. It's gonna be resource paths. Hmm. So I think that here I do the same thing. I'm just gonna decouple there. Maybe it is better to just return the roots if I'm gonna decouple anyway. Because then it's gonna be faster. Yeah, I think that's a have to. I think it should ask ChatGPT to see what it thinks. Like the positive side of doing this is that it ensures that whenever I run the function, it's always gonna have the. Yeah, but then it defeats the purpose if I'm gonna separate them. Because ensuring that I have all the things saved only makes sense for the exports. Because whenever I run this, I'm gonna build everything from C++ anyway, so it doesn't make sense because you don't need to save the files. Unless you're gonna use that function that relies on the file to change the things. But I think you can also do that entirely from C++. Hmm. So maybe, yeah, this is a better idea. So I move this stuff to the other function. That makes more sense. I still need to leave this one here now. So I think I can separate this into another function, then I call the function from both of these functions. So like on this one, let me think on this. Also, I realized that I don't need to call this here, I think. I'm just gonna do this here. Remove. Yeah, so I think probably better to so go back. Well, the thing is that the function needs to return the path. Yeah, I think the project function needs to return the path. Yeah, so if it needs to return the path, then I need to do this anyway here. But I can't call this function from this other one. It's kind of annoying. Like this one, it needs to receive the path of resources. So like the whole point of doing this is to avoid that issue that can come with desynchronizing the paths. So like I can put the logic to save or to traverse all the paths and get the resource files somewhere else, but then it runs the risk of not saving properly. So like I think it makes more sense to couple the logic that like to make the data that is used for export should depend on the logic that creates a project, because then they are automatically synchronized. So the biggest thing that I don't know like what is the best. There are several different ways to try to do this, I think. Like one way is the struct. So create another struct, put the roots and the paths on the struct. Then use the struct here. I think I can't make this return the root node because then I don't have the paths. And then if I use another function to get the paths from the root, then it fits the points of the thing. So I think that the function for the project has to return the paths. Yeah, I think that the easiest way is just to decouple them. The thing that I don't like about decoupling is that so I think that I need to put this on another function. Then so like oh then so this one would return a vector instead. So this one it's too big of a name. But I'm thinking now like because the annoying thing about decoupling them is that I'm gonna have to remember to put this every time that I create a new project. I'm gonna have to create the if else statement 2 times, which doesn't make sense. So I think it makes more sense to like this one accepts the project name and the main sync path. Then I just do these if else statements. Then I return the value, the string name. And for this one, it's just gonna call the function, not use the return statement, because it builds like this, and it gets the node. But then for the other one, I can make it, can call this one directly and just return. Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. The main singing project name. Yeah, it should be a string. As the other way around. Yeah, now I think it makes sense. So this one is gonna create the, so like as long as the projects save the sing, the main sing, and I can instantiate from here, and then I can use the paths on the other one. because this one returns the thing. This one doesn't require. Yeah, let me think about this. Actually, instead of instantiating, I can. Hmm. No, but that would be the same thing, I think. Yeah, the other thing that is kind of bad is that I'm gonna have to remember to push the. But I think that's not that big of a deal because it's kind of easy to remember. Because when you're saving, yeah, but maybe it's not that easy actually. To Yeah, I think that is not that big of a deal, but it's probably not ideal. Like the problem is that I have to remember to push the main sync path to the vector every time because since I'm not gonna traverse the RAS paths, I'm gonna depend on the vector that I return here to save to the exported template. Yeah, but I think so. I'm gonna try to compile, just trying to think if I forgot to do anything. So resource mouse, this creates based on amazing. This creates fresh load. Oh, I should put this thing here as well. Oh, so I should put here. I think so. Might be mistakes based on includes and stuff, but I think I already got everything. Obviously, I'm not sure if it's ideal or not. Like there are things that I think can improve, but I'm not pretty sure if there's any easy because there's trade-offs for everything. So if I improve in one way, it's gonna like be worse on other ways because of this the vector. I forgot. Sorry, I did it here. So the way that it works when it's loading the project is based on this file access pack here. So they have a function. Now I understand why they do things the way that they do, which is very clever. They use a function pointer to create the access thing. Like this is the function that's gonna set up the project, or like on the original one is gonna do use this to check whether or not a project is being, or like an application or a game is being executed. So you pass is gonna this is gonna be the path of the current directory, I think, the beginning. And then like this is just if you pass an argument, but this is gonna be the main logic. So it gets the executable path from here. Then this one is the one that checks to see if there is embedded logic, embedded resources on the executable. Then after it's gonna check for if the directory where the executable is located has a package file. So it's basically the same thing, it's just different files that it writes to, the two different export modes. So this one with the executable path, this is the function that they're gonna use to change the way that their access works across the application whenever you are running a game or an application from when you're running the editor or the project manager. So it uses this thing here based on the executable path, to read the executable with these sources here using this pack data. And this is basically going to be the part that I said that is symmetrical. Like the way that it reads the file here is the same way that it's going to write to the file when it's exporting. So they have to be equivalent, because otherwise the parsing fails. And then it gets the paths from here using this. They write everything, I think, on 32 bits, which is like a row on 32-bit systems. I think they do it like this because obviously for 64 is going to be 64 is multiple of 32, so they basically save the paths here, then they bootstrap the paths from the executable using this. And before they check whether the pattern exists on the executable, then they use this thing to save the paths on this packet data. It's like bootstrapping the paths from the executable. And here is the line where they change the RAS path to this thing here. And this is the reason why when you use the RAS path to save the resources, it works, because the way that they do it here. So if you use the user special path, it's not going to change that path, which means that if you use those paths on classes, they're still going to go to the same place, which is on a special directory depending on the operational system. That is going to allow you to put user settings stuff. And that's why they recommend this RAS path for saving the project resources, because it's like this class is bootstrapping like a folder structure inside of the executable based on these paths here. Then the thing that is going to allow them to do this is going to be this make default here, because the dir access, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a singleton, and they use a function pointer to create instances of these classes. So here, like, it's changing the way that the access is gonna perceive like the access resources, and it's gonna make it use this class here instead of the one that you would normally use. So this is the function map that they use to determine what function is going to be used when you are using memnew to create a class. Yeah, and is based on the different types of the access, which are these ones. So for the resources one, it's going to change when you call the function to use this class instead, because it's passing the dir access here, which is this thing here. So the map of this thing is going to be different, which is going to use this function instead, and the template is the other class, which is this class here. So this is going to make it so you initialize that class instead of the one that it would usually initialize. So it basically means that when you're initializing the dir access class, it's going to use the other class instead of this one. And the other class, this class here, is the one that has the logic to that builds the abstraction of the paths based on the way that you read the executable. So it's gonna find based on the RAS path here. Mm. Like this problem is happening because of translation units. So since I'm not including the project settings on the header, then it's not gonna link that here. So I have to either include on both of them, or I put on the header of this one, and then the other one's gonna catch that. So I think it's probably better to leave it separate. Because that way, like when I was removing a bunch of stuff from the engine, like I got these kinds of problem because they happen because of this, where like whenever you have includes on other headers and then you use that header on another file, it's gonna automatically include other stuff uh, from the first header. So like it includes the logic by proxy, and the issue with that's if someone removes the header uh, from one of the files, then like you're gonna have issues because of indirect dependencies that were being included before. So for example, if I put the include project settings on this header, and then I include this header on this file, and then I use project settings here, then once I remove the header from this file, the header of this file here, let's say I don't want to use this anymore or whatever, then I'm gonna have issues because of project settings. But then the issue is when you have a bunch of includes, it's gonna be hard to figure out like where the issues are coming from. And this was a problem that I have, and I still didn't figure out very well like the roots of the issue. I just made it work, but there are some files on the variants and other core classes on the engine where there is like these dependencies, circular dependencies, and stuff like that, which is very annoying. So I think it's probably better to try to separate. it works. So yeah, the problem is where is saving this. This is the thing that is kind of an issue. And maybe I should. Let me think about this. I think I'm gonna go back to the way that I was doing previously, and I just use the editor sandbox. And I think it is working. Yeah. Like this doesn't matter, but it is kind of annoying. But the reason why this is happening is because I'm not deleting the nodes. I think this like it's kind of weird because before it was working, and I think it was working because I was appending or I was pushing the nodes to the main scene, but or to the main scene tree. But now I don't understand why this like why is I think it's because of the sync probably. Hmm. How can I destroy this thing? It's probably with this. Hmm. But it's already running this. Just save there. But it's probably because I'm not cleaning the main one. Yeah, but then this is the issue. If I clean here, will it destroy the roots? I'm gonna try this. And the other issue is the stuff about the caching. So I think the engine relies on like having a project Godot file or something like that. Yeah, the way that I'm doing this on this one is like this. So I'm running this. Hmm. Oh, so it is using this already. Interesting. So because I'm setting the path here, so this gets the executable path, then like this gets the folder where the executable is at, and this gets the parent folder, which is the folder of the celerity, and then this gets the relative path to the editor sandbox here. So I think that's the reason why, like it did save the function, this thing here. So maybe I should delete these things after. Like there's two different options. Obviously, one is to make the path based on the project name. So create the folder, create the project folder first, then save the things on the project folder. The other option is to just delete, because the main reason for creating the scenes is just to export. And the issue is that it doesn't scale well if I, but the question is whether or not that is a big deal, and I think probably not. I'll think about this later. So I'm gonna test if it's still going to leak a bunch of stuff. After I clean the scene, like it should be automatically cleaning the root node. That's the thing that is confusing me because I'm pushing this to the main scene tree, and the nodes that are added on the main scene tree are gonna be cleaned by the engine once it stops executing. So because I'm pushing here, I'm adding as a child to the main thing. It should automatically clean, which I think it was doing before, but now it's giving a bunch of stuff. I think the only thing that makes sense is because of this thing here. I'm instantiating another thing. Maybe I should delete. Hmm. It's because I'm creating another one here. So the node that I'm pushing there is not the one that is being used. I think that's the issue. So like before I was using the same node to push to the sync tree, but now I'm creating this one, saving the sync file, and then using the sync file to run. Maybe I should. I think I should ask just to see what ChatGPT is gonna say about the trade-offs, because I'm curious. But I don't think it matters that much. The main thing that I'm thinking about is whether or not to use this struct. So I can create another struct and then just put the root nodes and the sync paths, then return the struct instead, and it would make it easier. And then I can use the same function above. The question is like how to ask this to ChatGPT. Obviously, the other option, like the thing that I don't like about the other option, but maybe I'm gonna have to do this anyway. Like I have to delete the scenes here. Maybe it is better actually. Should I just save everything, then I delete always? Because if I have multiple different nodes, I have to delete anyway, because I'm only gonna append one of the nodes to the tree, and the other ones are gonna have to be instantiated based on the sync files. So I think I should just create the sync files here. Then I can delete all of them after using this function that I created. Just traverses the nodes and deletes them. But I don't like relying on this. It's easier to use the engine to delete everything. I think that is not gonna work. I have to delete there. I'll be right back. Very nice. And the question is whether or not you. I think I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna put the condition here. I'll put here. And I spent some time trying to understand why this is not working. Obviously, it has to do with cache files, which has to do with the project settings or project structure. It's probably because this runs before I set the path. Should be. Hmm. So at this point, it should already have the setting on the user. Hmm. Let me think of this. So it definitely has to do with the project structure. I think that it is based on that the editor paths there. I think that shader cache is usually supposed to be on the user path, which seems to be correct there. So it makes me think that it's something to do with the name. Let me see something. So I'm gonna look for the file. It's on the C users, your username, app data, roaming, Godot, then the project name. I think Zap user data, then the project name. Oh, no, actually, it's probably on the shader cache. So from this folder, there's shader cache, and then it has the app user data. Yeah, this is the thing though. Like it's not saving. I think it's probably saving on the unnamed here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it is saving the settings on the unnamed project. Not sure why I'm doing this either. Or no, this one, it is working. It's only the other one that it doesn't. So I think it's just the time. It's probably the time that I'm setting this. And this is probably not the issue, but I have to fix this anyway. So the best thing to do is to change this thing here. Yeah, let me think about this. Yeah, I think that this should solve the issue with the project name, but it's probably not gonna solve the other fonts error and something weird to do with the cache. Not sure if I should try to solve this though. I wonder if I can do this. I think that the issue, yeah, I'll copy from this one. The issue is because I'm using the actual thing. It requires to instantiate on the header. So you can't forward declare. You can only forward declare if it's going to be a pointer. I think that's what is going on. Yeah. So I have to change on the in here as well. Oh, it's because I'm initializing. Hmm. Yeah, the issue. But since I'm always gonna pass there, I think it probably makes more sense to do this instead. So I'm gonna go back to the other one. It's probably because I was initializing there. Because I'm always gonna pass this. The only difference is gonna be if there isn't a project, then it's just gonna be an empty string. Actually, that's. I think for creating the export, I'm gonna need to create the folder if it doesn't exist for the project name. So I'm gonna copy the logic that they have there. Oh, it's because of the path. Yeah, the path here. Hmm. Oh no, it's because of the I put on the wrong thing. Yeah, it should be here. Yeah, but this is a problem. No, but I think that like it is setting again. It's just easier. I was thinking about whether or not to I change this, but I think it's just easier to leave it like this and call on all different places so that it resets the thing. Like here is gonna set for the main scene. But I think that it isn't an issue that I'm gonna set for a different scene first because I think that the only reason why it's not creating another folder for that project name is because the settings run first here. Like it runs this before everything, then the engine creates the structure on the user settings at some point, and only then it runs the other functions to build the scene. So I think it doesn't matter if I set with the wrong scene here, as long as I have the project, because then I'm gonna reset again here. Yeah, I'm gonna test this. So first I'm gonna try to make it work with this, see if it's gonna create a folder. Then I'm gonna test by changing the development scene to something else. I'm gonna just put one node there, and then I'm gonna be able to see if it's running the correct scene when I run the project. And now I think it's working. Yeah. And now I think that is not gonna, it didn't show the error message. So it was most likely because of this. Back. Shit. Let me test both things at the same time. So based on the sync file, I can already tell. Yeah, nice. So I don't know what, like how big of an issue this is, but I think it's probably doesn't matter. Like it's not creating anything here, and this is the main scene because I'm not saving to the scene file on when I create the when I run the development scene version. I think it doesn't matter that much. So now finally I'm gonna focus on the logic to export. Oh, I should have. I'm gonna open that thing again and I'm gonna search for. So I would be nice to copy the yeah this functionality here. I'm gonna leave this file open. Yeah, because I'm gonna use this. So I think what this is doing is opening this folder and then checking to see if you can move to a subfolder, and if you can't, then it creates the subfolder. I'm gonna have to do the same thing on the export system. So I got the resource paths here. Then I got it here. So I have to change these ones. Yeah, I think I have to pass it down all of the functions. I think should be probably the second argument. Makes more sense. So this function was the one that used the editor file system on this function here to traverse the paths, and then if they filtered here. But I think this way it makes more sense for the stuff that I'm doing, because then I can decouple, or I can leave the part of the logic that is gonna decide what assets to include and export it on the project building parts, which I think makes more sense. Then here I can loop over these resources directly. Oh, they also use the hash set instead. But I think a vector is fine. Maybe hash set's better. I'm gonna do it with a vector now, and then maybe later I'll change. I think the hash set makes more sense because then it prevents saving the resource 2 times. But then the issue is I have to change all the other functions, and I don't want to do this now. Yeah, so I'm gonna see, try to compile and see if it works. Oh, I forgot to do the where should I put the logic? I forgot to put the logic that is gonna save. I think it has to be before, because I'm passing this package path here is gonna be the path to the predetermined path that I set up there. So it's gonna be this exports path here, I think. So is this path here, export path. Is the last path. Yeah, which is this path here. So she puts here. And now let me copy the logic from this. think else should be. Yeah, now I think it works. And then I should probably use this one instead here. Yeah. It's gonna be very annoying if like everything runs and there is an error like on the when I run the export project, it's gonna be very annoying to solve. I think I should spend at least a little bit more time reading the functionality, but I'm just like it makes more sense to try to make it work first with the way that it is. But I think regardless of whether or not it works, I should spend time reading the function that actually saves to the file. Like the nuances of how it saves. And I'm gonna have to change this as well. Like I think it's not worth it to do this now because like I said before, I still don't have a thing that I think that's like, it's not fully functioning yet. And I'm not really sure like the main idea that I have for this thing that I currently have is not to uh, export that or to like not sure if deploy is the correct way to put it. Like to distribute it, the project is just to use that thing to develop other stuff. So that's the idea that I have now. And once I got to the point where I think I have something that I can, which I think that's, I'm gonna try to, like once I have the project that I'm actually going to deploy or to distribute, I think I'm not gonna wait very long until I do that. I think I'm just gonna do it like with the minimum version. But then once I get to that point, then I think it's probably better to spend more time on the options here. And I think I'm just gonna do for Windows first because it's the easiest one. But I'm probably gonna do it with the encrypt. And then once it gets to that point, I'm gonna have to. I think that's what I'm not gonna like on the original one. They make it based on the variables from the editor export preset class. And I think here the way that I'm gonna do it is to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what are the best options, and then I'm just gonna use that always to export all of the projects. It's just easier. So I spend a bunch of time in the beginning, and then once I arrive at the best options, just leave the hard-coded variables. But the thing that is kind of annoying is the code signing stuff, and I think you have to do like other things for Windows that are not like you have to get the certificates and stuff like that, which involves a lot more like a lot of other things. And I'm probably going to distribute using Steam, I think. Probably, I think Steams and Etchy are the main ones that people use. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. But I think that on this one, I'm not gonna do that. This thing that I'm building now is just gonna be a thing that I use to bootstrap all the other stuff. I'm using, I forgot to put the RAS path somewhere. So 62. Hmm. So why was it crashing before? It doesn't make sense. Oh, I think I understand now. So the problem is that I'm setting the path. I think it's something to do with the setting the path there that I'm setting to that editor sandbox. But the weird thing is that this should be getting from the executable. I think it's getting the wrong path here. And the error comes from this, and these are these like so the idea that I had is to loop over the bin directory, which is where the executables are at, because I'm only gonna use the executables that I compile on the source. And maybe in the future I change this logic to use specialized executables, but if I do that, I'm gonna do that later. So I think for now, this way should work. So I compile the engine with the templates, then I loop over that the final executable directory, and I get the paths, and then based on the pattern, I export for each platform. We did create here. So this one is correct. So if this one is correct, the root path should be correct. It's gonna get from the exports. So now open that, then it's gonna change. So think about this. I shouldn't be doing this shit here. But it's weird that it's giving the scene names, which doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's looping over the project directory. So it's probably better to use the root path, because I know the root path is working now. So I'm gonna do it this other way. So I think what is happening is that this folder here is the editor sandbox, and the other one it works because it's going up. Yeah, but if it was going up one, then it would be on the Cortex. So I'm gonna print the path here. Probably the issue is this thing. I think. So the other thing that I forgot to do here is to check for whether or not is the editor. So it should be based on the format of the final executable. That it depends on the build system, so it's always gonna follow the same pattern. So the way that I'm thinking is like I separate the way that I was thinking before is to compile the engine as I run this, and then use that compile version as the base engine to export. But I think that's like the trade-off is not worth it. It's just simpler to manually compile before, and then I use the compile version here. So I get based on this directory here, and I parse the names based on the pattern here, which is, and I use ChatGPT for this. So, but I thought it made sense. So this is supposed to get the name of the file. So the base engine paths I assume should be this folder here, which has all these files. Then you loop over the files, you get the file name, which will be just the name of this. Then you split the name, because the dots are gonna be like the things you need. But Now I'm realizing that it's probably four as well. So like one, sure. That was correct. Yeah, it's four. The first one is Godot, which I'm not using. Then the second one is the platform. Then the third one is going to be whether or not it's release or debug. And the fourth is the architecture. Yeah, so I think that this way works because when it's the editor, actually I'm matching based on the, as it's not going to work. So it has to be based on the third, which is this one. Because the thing is, I don't want to use the editor for the final export because the editor is going to have this functionality. So I only use the templates and the debug, which I remove the other stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna run to see what the paths are. Actually, I'm already printing the paths here, so it doesn't matter. Well, these paths here have to be the paths on the binary folder. The other thing that is weird is that it was crashing when I ran from the command line, but when I run with the debug, it just sends the message. So I assume it's something to do with the node. Hmm. It might be based on the place that I'm running from. No, but it doesn't make sense because like I'm using the same executable. So it has to be the executable path either way. Also now it's yes, file not found. Hmm. So this has to do with the user. So I'm using config files and they are saved on the user path. So it's not finding them on the user path. I think this happened because I changed the thing there, the name, so but it's very weird. Mm. Yeah, it's because of the difference. So I think like so if I call this before calling, it might work. But it's kind of weird. I want to understand why this is happening. Because like I think it has to do with that config file, but I don't think like it doesn't make a lot of sense. So the moment it gets here, it's gonna have the previous name. No, but you should have the project name already, because I changed here. So it should be the same setting. Oh, but it's a different main scene. I think that's the problem. Yeah, that's the issue. So I think because I'm using this here, this is not very good. So let me think about this. Another thing that I just realized is that I can initialize this with dev there, and then I don't need to pass this logic here. No, but then I think it wouldn't work. I can change the main there, then it would work, but mm. Like the easiest way to solve this is just to move the this thing before it creates the functions. Before it creates the project. But I'm trying to think about a better way to do this. The problem is that there's two different settings. One is for the development scene when I'm running the default version just to develop one scene, and the other one is for building the project, and the other one is for exporting the project. So when I'm building the project, obviously I want the main scene should be whatever the name of the project is here. I'm gonna test to see if it was gonna work like this, and then I'll try to figure out later. Let me run. Yeah. It's definitely because of this. So there's a mismatch between the projects. I'm not really sure what is the best way to solve this. Like the thing that is weird is why it would. Yeah, I'm not really sure if I understand very well what is going on. I think it has to do because it has to do with the and now is giving this. It has to do with the configuration there and something weird with the project settings and the user path. Yeah, so it does seem that is right here, the paths. But I don't understand. So obviously it has to be based because of the functions. It should be because of this. Yeah, but the thing that is weird is that I'm not even printing the file name. I'm printing the base engine path. And it's giving this files here, which doesn't make sense. So obviously I should be here. I think it's because I'm, yeah, it should be like, no, but this will be a folder. So it should be the file. I'm gonna use this. So it must be because of the like it's very weird though. Like I think that what's happening is because of the path. So I'm using current working directory when I set up the thing here. Here, so it sets the path to this. So I think that this is the reason why is getting these files here. But the weird thing is that so it must be because of the way that their access works, probably. But it's weird because is like this function is working there. Like it's getting the correct path for the like this path here. Or maybe it's the wrong. No, I think that this is the correct path. So it should be. Yeah, I'm passing this path here, and this path I know is correct. So it must be something to do with the dir access. Yeah, I think I have to change to this path. But I'm not sure if that makes sense. Yeah, because here I just create the dir access for the path. So it creates based on like this is just to see whether or not it's gonna be access user or access file system. So I think I have to change to this path. Yeah, so I need to use this open change their path. Yeah. Oh fuck. Like the question is, how is it creating? I think is loading a difference. There's a mismatch between the state that it loads and the state that it's trying to save in the end. So for some reason, it's loading the nodes, but it's not creating them. So I can delete the config files, and I think it's gonna solve. But the issue is that I'm not gonna fix the main source of the thing. So I think I have to change the dockable layout class in some way. It's happening because it's deleting the node here. It's on the save config. I have to do the sync file. I think I'm gonna have to solve this off stream. I have to think more about it, but I think that it's something to do with the sync file. It's more complicated because of the way that I build this. So like the function that builds the thing is like a static method in this class. So like it's just a function that is part of the class, but it doesn't have to be part of the class. And it builds the nodes of the just using C++ of the scene when I run, I think. So when I run the function to build the scene, it builds the node in a way that you can cache to the scene file. So that's the reason why, like I think it's something to do with the way that I'm putting the docs here and the way that I'm putting the docs here. I think when I create the scene, it puts the nodes on the doc on the hash map, and then it's on doc nodes. No, this comes from the property which is saved on the scene, and this is updated when I create the scene for the first time. So there's a mismatch between the way that it's creating this. I have to do the config. It's happening here. Think on this. Oh, here I'm just updating the states. I'm not doing anything with the nodes. Yeah, so I get the nodes from the dictionary. So I build a scene. When I build a scene, I update the state of the dictionary with the data, and this that is necessary to bootstrap the scene later if it saves on the scene file. If it runs at the same time, then it is not necessary because I already have the nodes. Maybe this is a problem. Yeah, I think this might be the issue because like I'm adding the nodes twice. I think that's the problem. Like the original way that I thought about it is building the scene off like the runtime. So you run from the command line, it runs the function to build the scene. After the function runs, it updates this variable here, and this variable is cached on the scene file. Then when you run the scene from the scene file, because it has the data to recreate the nodes, it recreates them based on this. I think that's what is happening. It definitely is confusing. So I think I should figure out how to do this in a better way. There is something to do with the docs here. So there's both this. This is for caching, I think, and this is for the runtime thing. The question is like how I'm getting this, and I think this is coming from the config. Load container state. This just changes the values, but it doesn't do anything. Updates the cache map from dictionary. Yeah, so it creates this from the dictionary. Mm. I do want to put a check there, just so because then, like I said, it's more important to know the root cause of the issue. If I put a check on the function that is saving the nodes to see if the nodes exist. If the node exists, to save to the config. It's gonna solve the issue, I think. But then I'm still gonna have like this design problem, I think. So let me think about. So when I create the scene, it puts the nodes, updates the thing, which puts the nodes on the hash and the docs. And when it saves, you should have the same nodes that it created. So you should have the nodes here. So it's not accessing the value. As that should be no. Now why is it no? It's no because I'm not loading, obviously. So it has to be because of the config, I think. No, but the config is not adding any nodes, so that wouldn't make sense. It has to be on that put nodes on the hash. Yeah, put docs on hash map. That should be because of this. But like here is checking to see if it exists first. It's like the only way to put here is if the node is not a null pointer. But maybe it's because of the tab container. But I think it's failing because it's actually it might be something else. Like one thing that I could do is put this on the bottom here and add the tab container instead of adding as a child. What is there exactly? It's saying the file is not found. Maybe it's something else. Yeah, I think it's a dangling pointer. So like it has the pointer, but it doesn't have the object at the location of the pointer. Access violation. Reading. Oh, it's because of the way that I'm deleting the nodes, that's why. So when it saves the configuration, I deleted the nodes before. That's what's happening. Hmm. Because I'm doing breadth first search, I think. No, but breadth first search, it should come from the roots. Like I'm passing the root node here. So, but maybe no. But if it was because of the other nodes, it wouldn't make sense. I'll be right back. Actually, I might. Let me. I think I'm probably gonna stop streaming now because it's gonna take some like I can find simple solutions I think to this, but the issue I wanna solve in a fundamental way. So I think I'm gonna stop streaming now because I have to spend more time thinking about this. But I think that like can either be something to do with the configuration, the saving of the configuration, But now that I thought about it, I think the most likely thing is something to do with the order that I'm removing the nodes here. So when this deletes the dockable layout node, there's gonna be the save config function there. But then because probably the node that is a child for some reason was deleted before the dockable layout. So when it tries, so when it loads the dockable layout, it has the node pointer. But when it's gonna save the dockable layout, it deleted that node before. It's like this value here is this control here, and this control comes from the docs, which is initialized in the beginning on the notification ready, I think, or notification whatever there. Yeah, here. So this initializes the docs based on the dictionary of the class that is saved when you create this state. So I think in the beginning, when you initialize this class here, is gonna run this, which is gonna initialize the nodes based on the dictionary. Yeah, but when I create the thing, it builds the thing and then adds the nodes to the dictionary first. And then it uses this to create the docs. Then the moment that it's gonna save this, it deleted the nodes already. I think it's probably because I'm doing the other way around. Yeah, I think that's the issue. Because I do remember when I created that free nodes or free thing roots, the reason why I use browse for search is because of that. Because like when you have to delete the bottom nodes first, I think. Because if you delete one on the top, then you delete the other ones. You try to delete the other ones, they don't exist anymore because you already deleted them with the when you deleted the one on the top. I think that's what's happening. But I don't remember really well. So this should be the root, and it pushes to the queue here. Then push the current. Yeah, so here I'm doing backwards. Yeah. So I traverse from the top to the bottom, but then I remove them backwards. That's exactly what is happening. So I'm deleting the nodes before I delete the dockable layout, and when I delete the dockable layout, the nodes don't exist anymore. So I'm gonna try to delete only the roots and see what happens. I wanna run the project first. Because I think that if I do this, it's probably gonna leak stuff, but I'm not really sure. If it doesn't leak, then I'm gonna test the export. If it doesn't work, regardless of whether or not it works, I'm gonna stop streaming, and I'm gonna think about this off stream. Okay, so it didn't leak anything. But I'm definitely gonna think about this anyway there. I'm not really sure what is the best solution. Because maybe I want to crash if on this situation where the children were deleted before. So like I should probably think about a different solution to that situation. Yeah, so it's still some issue. Yeah, now I'm getting the correct paths. Template file not found. Fail to rename. Hmm. Not sure why this is happening. It should be the name of the path. I think this has to do with the extension. The reason why it's not finding the file. Because I'm passing the wrong name there. Yeah, but honestly, I'm gonna stop streaming now. I'm gonna try to figure this out later. So there's two problems. One is the dockable layout thing, and the other one is this failing to rename, which I think it has to do just with the paths, the format. Yeah, so yeah, but I've been here a long time. So I'm gonna try to solve these path things upstream and then test. But I think if the paths are correct, is most likely it's gonna work because they didn't change too much the logic from the original one, like the saving logic, the logic that actually writes this stuff to the file. So I imagine that it's gonna work. So if it does work, then the final exported executable should be on this path here, which is gonna depend on the project name. Then once I get to the point where I have the final exported version, I'm gonna test obviously to see if it works. But then if it works, I'm gonna go back to the stuff I was doing before, which is just using the development scene version to continue to develop the scene that I have there, and I'm gonna think about the whole structure of the pipeline of the whole feedback loop cycle, and continue to I'm gonna continue to iterate to accelerate the development cycle. Yeah, so I'm gonna stop here. So next time I'm either gonna explain how I solve things, or I'm going to continue to develop the main thing there, which is the ID thing that I'm doing for now. So see you next time.